the Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today I want to tell you about my trip to the York Toy Extravaganza. This is a yearly toy show held the Sunday after Thanksgiving every year. I have attended it many times. Always a wealth of amazing stuff there to buy. It's a fairly old toy show. Like, it's been going on for years. And it definitely has a little bit of an older crowd to it. Are there 80s toys there? For sure. Are there modern stuff? Yes. But there's also a lot of, like, old die-cast cars and trucks and NASCAR stuff and just a very wide range of toys. Like I said, it's been around for a long time, so it has that older crowd to it, which is great. You know, every fandom needs their type of show. Some shows really cater to the modern collector. Some stuff really cater to those vintage collectors, and by vintage I mean 70s and 80s. And then there's also the people that collect, 50s stuff. There's got to be a place to buy ray guns and howdy doody stuff, There's those collectors as well. I met up with my buddy Nick. Then we met up with Rose and Tony from RetroCon. Rode out to the show. It's kind of our standard operating procedure for these kinds of shows. Overall, it was a good time, but I have to tell you, there was one very disappointing factor. The Old Country Buffet in York, PA is no more. I mean, buffets are fun. And the Old Country Buffet, or OCB as I like to call it, closed in our neck of the woods quite a while ago. But once a year, we'd go to York and get to go to OCB. And I mentioned that, there's still one out in York to my mom one time. I think last year around Christmas time maybe, and she gave me a gift card to OCB that someone had given her. And since there were none around, she gave it to me, and I had it in my wallet for like a whole year, or just under a year. And we look it up while we're out there. The OCB is closed. So that was the biggest disappointment of my day. But moving on to the more toy nature of it. I've got things that I bought there. I've got things I was given. I've got things that I'm just going to show you guys. I did forget to take my camera. I am super annoyed with myself for not bringing my video camera with me. I plugged it in to make sure it was charged up because it had actually died from filming down here. And I just walked out the door without it and didn't have the time to go back for it. But my good buddy Nick, I've got some of these from him from RetroCon. He found some more at his house, gave them to me. These are fan-made file cards for the classified figures. I think they're pretty cool, so he hooked me up with some of them. And Tony from RetroCon gave me my Christmas present. He had multiple variants, like paint variants, of the world's smallest Masters of the Universe figures that came with a Castle Grayskull in a set. And he told me I could pick one for a Christmas present. He really just wanted the Grayskull. So I got the Green Goddess. There was a Skeletor repaint and somebody else, and I've forgotten who it was. If it was like the gold Disco Skeletor, I might have gone for that. But it was just kind of like a darker figure. And the Green Goddess is sort of like a forgotten piece of Motu history, who has suddenly gotten a million pieces of merchandise based on her because she's an easy repaint since Motu Classic. So I think she's kind of interesting. So that's the one I picked out. The York Toy Extravaganza is hosted at the York Fairgrounds, and it's like a complex. There are multiple things there. There's like a stadium, and there's this convention center. I don't even know what you would call it exactly, but like a building with giant rooms in it. It has like a lobby area, and then two big, well, it's an outer lobby, an inner lobby, and then two giant warehouse-type rooms, barns, almost, if you will. And so the convention has two different sections, or the toy show has two sections. They're not really sorted out in any real way, but the one room tends to have a lot of die-cast cars and trucks, as well as a lot of 80s stuff. And then the other room tends to have a lot of die-cast stuff and, like, super old miniatures and, like, slug figures and lots of strange stuff. I don't know. Both rooms are definitely worth going through. My friend Trick Treat and his buddy Greg and Nate were hanging out in the setup and selling some Motu Classic and stuff like that in the one room that I tend to think of as the vintage 80s room. And then my buddy Chris Lamont, who is a vendor, Gorilla Boys Toys is his like vending brand. He's always in the other room, but he sells 80s stuff, so it's in both rooms. Some years there's actually somebody there with a blank from Dick Tracy, but it was not there this year. But I always think it's really cool. The couple years that I did see it there, that somebody has it and is showing it off like in a little glass case with an explanation about it, not for sale kind of thing. I don't really like a ton of that kind of stuff at a toy show because I want to buy stuff, but it is fun sometimes to see that kind of super rare thing that otherwise you will never see it because there aren't enough toy museums open to the public. That kind of thing is kind of fun. I saw some bendies. Superhero bendies are kind of interesting. I also couldn't figure out whether there's always a ton of Tommy Oliver, Green Ranger, White Ranger, Power Ranger stuff at toy shows, or because of the passing of JDF, I just kept noticing it. But there was a lot of Power Rangers merchandise that I saw sitting around that I couldn't help but think about JDF from that. I didn't do an episode addressing it, so but Tommy was a really cool Power Ranger. That Green Ranger suit and the Dragon Zord and just his fighting prowess was impressive, and the fact that he kind of stuck with the brand and kept coming back to help save it whenever they needed that little injection of energy. The Green Ranger, Tommy, would come back in a new suit or whatever. He was a Red Ranger for a little while, a Black Ranger. All his little cameos. I give the guy a lot of credit for his dedication to the fans of Power Rangers, and it's just really sad. The Crest toothpaste guy. I feel like every year I see something, and maybe it's the same thing, I can't remember, but the Crest toothpaste, man, it was like sparkly toothpaste. I had like a little ring as a kid, and we used to pretend it was like a genie, I guess because the Disney Aladdin movie, and the blue guy with no legs, really. But I thought that was pretty hilarious. Mr. Bubbles, how many cleaning products have their mascot as a toy? Has there ever been a Mr. Clean action figure? I would like to know. Hess trucks, lots of Hess trucks. It's Christmas time. You got to get your Hess truck. The Hess truck's back and it's better than ever. Ba, 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 ba. Legions of Power. I saw a bunch of boxed Legions of Power stuff. I actually have a suitcase, like a kid's suitcase full of Legion of Power stuff. One of my coworkers gave me. She has a son that's around my age. And I have thought about doing some sort of an episode based on that for a really long time. But I don't know that much about Legion of Power. Like, there's a mini-comic that kind of gives you the story, but I don't know what the full line looks like. I don't even know if I could build specific kits out of the parts I have. So I'm not sure how to present it, but it's like something in the back of my mind. And so since I saw some boxed Legion of Power, I had to take a picture of it. The first thing I bought at the show was this 1986 G.I. Joe tablecloth. It was opened, so it was fairly cheap. I have plates and party hats and things like that, but I'm pretty sure I didn't have the tablecloth, and I love collecting these birthday party supplies. So this is the Hawk, Roadblock, Sergeant Slaughter branded stuff. There's the Hawk cake pan that goes with this. I had these for a birthday party when I was a kid. Not sure how I'm going to display it. I actually wouldn't mind if I could find somebody that has a shrink wrapper, just shrink wrapping it again in something other than this beat-up bag. Alf! Hey, Willie! Couldn't help but think about Mike Bro. Johnny West. So this is an example of one of those, older toys that are there. These things are from a generation of collectors pre-Star Wars. That just feels very old-timey when I see it at these toy shows. Oh! While I have you here, let's do a new to the collection. I just picked up 2 Python bats. I got a little story here about the Python bats. I got really excited about these guys, overly excited. I don't know why. I am trying not to army build classifieds too much, maybe 2 Vipers or 2 Cobra Troopers. But when the bat and the Python bat got announced, I went a little crazy, and I ordered a bat from Big Bad Toy Store, and then they were on Target, and I got my wife to order me a couple, and I ordered a couple, and all of a sudden I realized I was going to have 5 of these Python bats. I don't really need 5 Python bats, but then I kind of forgot about it. It was just one of those things, you order it, you have a little bit of regret, and the time just moves on. And now, I don't know, is it 6 months later? Is it a year later? The shipping notice comes through. My wife says, oh, these are going to her old house, which is actually going to sell, like, this week. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. So I go on the Target app, and I have pre-ordered bats. I have the Tiger Force Duke. I have the Tiger Force Bazooka. They're all going to her old house. I was ordering them as I was selling my house. So it wasn't forever ago. It was, I don't know, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, maybe, that I ordered those things. And this was a slightly older pre-sale, so maybe it was 6 months ago. The bats are about to ship, so I couldn't change the address. I could change the address on the other ones. It would not let me change the address on this. And the delivery date was for the day of settlement, the day we are no longer going to own the house. And so 2 of them got delivered. My wife had ordered to the house, and I was able to go pick them up. And my 2 got pushed back another day, to the day after we owned the house. So I finally, with a little coaxing from my wife, she was like, do you really need 2 of it? Not realizing I was actually getting 5 of it. Whoops. She convinced me. Right. I had always had kind of this, like, I don't need that many of them. So I canceled my order for 2 more that were supposed to come the day after we don't own that house anymore, because it wouldn't let me update the address because it was too close to being processed or something. I don't know. I could not change my address on the other pre-orders from my phone. I had to do it on my computer. Why that was different, I don't know, but it makes me feel like an old person when I can't make technology work. Somebody had several of the large Shogun Warriors, and those are just super cool toys, so, I had to snap a picture of them. I picked up Meg from Bionic 6, but she's on an Eric card. Bionic 6 are die-cast action figures based on an 80s cartoon. They are a fun toy line. I really enjoyed the cartoon as a kid, but they are a pain to collect because the die-cast metal, the paint all chips off of them when kids play with them. So for a little while, they were cheap to find on card, and I used to actually buy them on beat-up cards and open them to have really nice, minty, loose figures. And now I kind of wish I had a carded one, and found this one. I didn't think the price was too bad, and so I picked her up, and I think it's kind of interesting because it is an error package. When I look at the back of the box, I know I need Bungie still, the karate brother, and I know I need JD, who is kind of like the techie brother, but I might have everybody else. I might be missing Clunk from the bad guys, though. Can't be sure. And I know I'm missing some of the accessories. So the toy department, which is a toy store in Ohio, which is an incredible toy store. They have, a case of, prototype stuff and just insanely well-stocked. They priced accordingly to that. But they were at the show. They had showcases and stuff there. And they had tiger sharks in the case. And I never see tiger sharks. But I did an episode about the Rankin Bass cartoon toy line series. Thundercats, Silverhawks, and Tiger Sharks a long time ago with Mike Bro. So I had to snap a picture of that. I did not know about Tiger Sharks as a kid. I somehow missed the boat on that completely. I picked up some Imaginext Batman figures. They were super cheap, and I thought my stepsons would enjoy them. They have an Imaginext playset and the giant Batbot Extreme and some of the figures, but trying to diversify the characters a little bit for them. So I picked up a Two-Face. His face is a little bit scuffed up, but he was kind of like a last pick based on character selection that was there. I got Batgirl, who I knew they didn't have. I picked up Catwoman. Maybe not my favorite design for her, but, again, character diversification here for them. I got a Riddler, and I also got this first appearance Batman figure. He's got, this extremely large cape to simulate the cover. He's got the little purple gloves. This one's for me, though, I think. I'm pretty sure he's going to end up on one of my shelves. Mego, again, some of those kind of older pre-Star Wars generation toys that I see at this show a lot. 89 Batman. There was a whole bunch of that there. That's another one of my dream episodes that I want to do. If you saw my RetroCon video, I just picked up the Batwing. I don't have the Batcave. I have some of the individual figures, but that would be a really cool episode to do sometime, to kind of go through the whole Batman 89 line. They had the Batwing and the Batmobile on the box, as well as the Batcave. Just incredible. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Now, there is a late 80s, early 90s toy line that you don't see a whole lot of. I had a few of them as a kid, and I got rid of them. I sold them at one point when I was collecting a lot less when my collecting eyes narrowed down to a laser focus of only 2 toy lines. I got rid of a lot of that stuff. I don't have a major desire to recollect them, but I do think they're fun. And I still keep my eyes out for the tomatoes that had legs, because I never saw them as a kid. I scored 3 $1 G.I. Joe accessories. They're all for Army Builders, so I couldn't leave them behind. I love to collect on the cheap. I buy stuff at flea markets and yard sales. I have for years, so I have Army Builder figures that aren't complete. So if there's a chance I can, finish equipping one of them, it's great. Also, Army Builder accessories are great trade bait for things that I do need. So I picked up a Techno Viper wrench, a Cobra Eel flipper, and a Cobra Snow Serpent snowshoe. This He-Man lunchbox I thought was really cool. I like that weird ancillary stuff. They were asking $80 for this, so obviously I had to pass, but they had some really, really nice products at this booth. Here's a variety of some of the licensed books they had, as well as this cool Transformers duffel bag. Just really nice stuff, but just kind of out of my budget for the weekend. The aisles were pretty crowded. The show was busy. And this show, in general, I always feel like is very crowded. You get in situations where there's people looking at this side of the aisle and people looking at that side of the aisle, and if you want to keep moving, if you don't want to just stop, you end up walking in an aisle in the middle, and you can't see anything on any of the tables. So it can get a little frustrating. You have to be patient. Sometimes I actually will go upstream and then turn back down because I caught something out of the corner of my eye that I think I want to see at a table that I was kind of being blocked at the time. This cutout of Captain America was pretty impressive. Very tall. And I just felt like I needed to take a picture of it. Made me think of my local comic book shop, Wade's Comic Madness. Wade is a huge Captain America fan, and there's like a huge display in the store of Captain America merchandise. My biggest purchase of the show is Toon Turtles Irma. You guys probably know I've been working on collecting the Toon Turtles. I really want to do an episode about this like subline of Ninja Turtles, so I've been trying to finish this collection. They're expensive, they're hard to find. Irma is the only Channel 6 employee that I still needed. Now, some of my other ones are not in good shape. Burn and Burn I have are kind of rough, but I'm okay with that. I have them. They're placeholders, perhaps. Maybe someday I can upgrade them. But I was really glad to get a nice-looking Irma, and according to the vendor, she's complete. I have yet to verify that, but there are quite a few accessories in here, so I'm pretty sure that is the case. One of the weirdest, and I know I should save this little rant for the episode when and if we do it, but I loved these characters. Like, I would play out these ideas, but I totally get that no kid is buying Irma or Vern or Mr. Burns first. You're going to buy the 4 turtles first. You're going to buy a bunch of villains first. Then maybe you would want these guys. So it is amazing that they finally made them, but I was done with Ninja Turtles at that point. It was very much to me like King Randor. I wanted Randor and Marlena when I was playing with He-Man, and by the time Randor came out and the Sorcerers came out, I was done with He-Man, and when I saw them, I was like, they finally made them? But the cartoon was off the air at that point, so I had moved on. And now Ninja Turtles wasn't off, but I had moved on from Ninja Turtles. I was probably into X-Men at that point and collecting Kenner Star Wars figures when I got out of Ninja Turtles. But these guys are fun. I love that some of them are getting the NECA treatment, but I really do think it's funny that they made these guys, and they're so weird. Some of the posing and accessories and stuff that they came with is kind of interesting. This Grand Slam from 82 cracked me up. They're asking $25 for this Grand Slam figure. He's got the wrong legs. He's got Cross Country's legs on there, so you're only getting half of a straight arm figure there. And after I took this picture, I actually rooted through the bin some more and found Cross Country with Grand Slam's legs. So it wasn't even that confusing where like maybe they had a half a dozen guys that were broken and they didn't know who to put back. It was really just 2 guys. And Grand Slam's thighs have the same pads as his chest, so to me, it's a pretty obvious matchup. Digging through a Ninja Turtle bin, and I found a beat-up Toon Turtles Shredder. Now, he is pretty gnarly. His chest looks very yellowed. All of the, like, spike things on his shoulders and stuff were ripped off. But I do need a red sword for him. So I looked through this bin very carefully because there were some accessories in there. Because if I had found that red sword, man, I'd have been really excited. Monsters in My Pocket Trading Cards Sealed Case. This was, again, one of the coolest things I saw at the show that just was out of my price range. There's no way I'm spending $75 on a sealed box of cards. They're super cool. I have a complete set loose. I don't really need the box, but it caught my eye, and I had to stop and take a look. I love Monsters in My Pockets. Had to grab a picture of Armstrong real quick on a recent episode with Ryan. We talked about Armstrong when we were talking about some robot toys. Pops. There were lots of pops there. Every toy show has a ton of pops. Snapped this picture because I was thinking of Chris from Muppet Stuff, and there was the Fraggle Rock guys there, so thought that was kind of cool. After we all got done looking around the show, we were there for quite a while. We went and hit up a pizza place nearby, and then we went to a store called Fragments of the Past. It's like an antique store. I don't know exactly what town it's in, but it was not that far from York. And it looks like they have some new tenants or new consigners, like different sections where, different people's stuff. And they had Toys for the Ages, who is like a group of guys or a guy that runs a toy show called Toys for the Ages. And so these vendors had like video games and 80s toys and stuff there, kind of in the central section of this store. And then it was more antique-y type stuff towards the sides and the back. But that store had some good stuff to check out in there, and I picked up a cool item there. So that was a fun place to stop. So at Fragments of the Past, I picked up a bootleg G.I. Joe figure here. It's a bootleg of Beachhead. This is a line, kind of a well-known line of bootlegs. They make several 86 characters, a bootleg of Alpine, a bootleg of Leatherneck, Dial Tone, and Beachhead. All of them are featured on the card art there. The back of the card is completely blank. He has like a recast of Beachhead's gun, and it's just sort of a little, not quite a slug figure. I believe the arms are posable, but he's not a retool. He's just based on Beachhead. It's not a direct sculpt or like a bootleg cast. It is definitely like a resculpt kind of thing. Special Force. A team of modern army, moving arms, armed with weapon. But I've been wanting this guy for a while. I would like to get the whole set, but Beachhead is my favorite Joe, so this one was the most important to me. I'm super happy to get him. That was my one purchase at Fragments of the Past, but there was, a pickup that was kind of like a big, check for me, personally. It's always a great time when you can get out and hang out with your friends. This is that toy collecting community that I've talked about in the past. I have these people that I go to shows with and enjoy hanging out with. I run into other people while I'm at these shows, the extended toy collecting family, vendors and other collectors that are, selling just once in a while or just there to shop. There's certain people I run into all the time, some people I run into infrequently, but it's part of the fun of going out to these kind of events. And I wanted to, share my little adventure with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one. I didn't have as much footage to use, and with it being a one-day toy show and not really like a big weekend con, I just didn't have as much to talk about. I also budget much smaller for these kind of toy shows than I do when I'm going to, say, RetroCon. So don't have quite as big of a haul. But I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think is the best thing I picked up, or if any of the things in the photos that I skipped were mistakes of mine. I should have grabbed those items. Thanks for hanging on the peg with me.